Hi everyone, it's Jay here, and today I'm going to review the manga and manhwa I read in July. I read 11 volumes in July, starting a few series that have been on my to-read list for a while. I started the month by reading Reincarnated into a Game as the Hero's Friend, Running the Kingdom Behind the Scenes. I read the first 4 volumes of the series, 5 isn't out yet. The premise of the story is that a modern-day man is transported into a fantasy game that is played. He is reincarnated into Lord Werner's body, but at a younger age to when the game starts, which is good because it gives him time to A. adjust to the world, and B. prepare for what is to come, because he realises that he is not one of the main characters, and that means he is very likely to die in the future massacre, which he only knows about because he has played the game. So he trains hard, unintentionally becoming friends with the hero, Maisel, and prepares for the upcoming massacre that's going to happen in a few years' time. I have to say, I loved it. You get to see Werner grow up, train and adjust to this new world, whilst also trying to make some small changes to things around him, in the hope it'll help in the future fights. He's a smart person, and he thinks things through meticulously, and as the reader you get to see his thought process, which is a massive positive of this manga series. I personally enjoy reading about the process, understanding why he's making certain choices, and it enhances his credibility as a smart character. I hate it when authors or mangakas state that the character is smart, and then leaves it at that, providing no evidence in their actions that this is actually the case. Werner is a likeable character. He's hardworking, and when the fight happens, he's there adapting, making things work as best he knows how to. The other characters are very interesting as well. They have their own agendas, and their interactions with Werner reflect that. I was surprised by how much I ended up liking the Crown Prince. I half expected him to be ego-driven and arrogant, but as you come across him more and more in the story, he's not that way at all. He welcomes other people's expertise. I just found him to be a very good character. The art is different to what I usually read. It's sketchy and in some places has double lines to outline things. It took a bit to get used to, but it does actually work very well with the action scenes, and there's a fair amount of detail in the panels too. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this series, and I'm looking forward to buying Volume 5. I'm not sure when that's coming out though, as the only date I can find is on Goodreads, saying it will be released in March 2026, which is quite a long way away. I finally got my hands on Who Made Me a Princess and read the first 3 volumes of the series. I'd held off from buying this series because some of the covers, along with the blurbs, gave me weird vibes, like maybe there was incest or it was going to be a big age gap romance, but someone told me a bit more about it and it wasn't like that, so I decided to take the leap and buy them. The story follows a woman who wakes up in the body of baby Athanasia, a character in a novel who ends up being executed by her own father in later life. She is determined that that is not going to be her fate, and so resolves to avoid her father Claude, who is also the emperor. This is easy for her at first, as she is literally a baby and has been left in a separate palace, away from Claude because he hates her. Of course there are maids there to help her, but still, not a nice thing to do to an innocent baby. As the story progresses, Athanasia, or Athie, gets older and one day bumps into Claude and she is terrified. From there you see their relationship change and grow. There are moments that made me laugh out loud. Claude is utterly ridiculous in his hatred for Athie, and he is an unpleasant character. But Athie's thoughts about him are, at times, just too funny. Athie has to make decisions about her friendships with other characters too. For example, she meets the group of people who schemed and were ultimately behind her demise in the novel. Her interactions with them now, being different to in the original novel, may lead to changes. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing remains to be seen. So overall, I really enjoyed this. There's a lot of character development, and Athie's gradual attitude shift towards Claude is interesting. More so when you find out something about the woman who was reincarnated into Athie's body. I would recommend this manhwa, although I have only read the first 3 volumes. There are 9 in total, and they have all been released in English. The only thing I would say is read the first 2 volumes before you decide whether to continue with the series. I thought the second volume really got into the swing of things, and I enjoyed it more than the first one. I read a BL series called I Didn't Mean to Fall in Love. I think there are only 2 volumes, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It follows Yoshino, a 30-year-old virgin who is ready to give up on the notion of love. In one last attempt, he steals himself and goes to a gay bar. There he meets Ro, a college student, and they both end up spending the night together. From there, it gets a bit messy, with things being said and Ro having a certain expectation of how his partners act towards him. It's a mess, but I have to say I enjoyed it. Normally miscommunication annoys me a bit, but this wasn't too over the top. There was a level of self-preservation being shown that you could understand to some extent, and it all leads to some very funny moments. There's a karate chop in the first volume that just made me laugh. The second volume begins with Ro getting a job and his growing friendship with one of his co-workers. I use the term friendship quite loosely because the co-worker, Nico, is not friendly. But this all leads to Yoshino feeling insecure, and again, I thought this was really well done. Yoshino tries so hard to be supportive and understanding, but inside he is beating himself up for being insecure and jealous. I won't say more than that, but if you like a bit of angst, you should check this series out. There's also a lot of humour, so it isn't a depressing read at all. One of the side characters, Sui, is Ryo's best friend and a barman at the gay bar. He's a great character, I really like him. He's honest with Ryo and looks out for him, but he also looks out for Yoshino. So if you want a short BL series that is funny, has some angsty moments, and the art is really good, check these volumes out. I finally sat down and read the first 2 volumes of Firefly Wedding, and I'm so glad I did. These covers are stunning. It's about a woman called Satoko, a beautiful noblewoman who has a serious illness. She wants nothing more than to secure a worthy marriage for her family before she dies. But when she is kidnapped and the assassin, Shinpei, arrives, she desperately tries to survive by offering to marry him. He saves her and the story goes from there, with them realising they are trapped on an island together. So when I read this, Shinpei is unhinged. I think that's the best way to describe him. His and Satoko's interactions remind me a bit of Yoshino and Kirishima in Yakuza Fiancé. Both Shinpei and Kirishima are violent and unhinged, while Satoko and Yoshino are both more badass than it initially seems. Having said that, these mangas are very different, and it was more just a thought that crossed my mind whilst I was reading it. I really enjoyed this series. The art is nice. I love Shinpei's expression when he goes into killing mode. I'm looking forward to finding out more about the characters and seeing how things develop between them. Satoko really only offered marriage to him as a way to survive, and ultimately wants her marriage to be useful to her father. An assassin is not what she had in mind as being useful, and she has no time for falling in love. Shinpei, however, clearly likes the idea of marriage to Satoko, so it's awkward. Volume 3 is out now, and Volume 4 is out in October this year. So those are the volumes I read in July 2025. I didn't read much, but it was the summer, and my reading always seems to slow down in summer because of how busy it gets. If you want to buy any of these, check out sci-fi.com, who always reduce the RRP on manga and manhwa volumes. And if you use the code Jay'sManga, you'll get an extra 5% off. Let me know what you've read recently. Do you have any recommendations for me? Like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Happy reading, everyone. Bye!